Hello, Bryan.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm very happy to meet you
Thank you.
in Kovalam.
Yeah, we are in Kovalam, and we are going to introduce about calligraphy. Now he is the calligraphy master from Canada.
Master, I'm just a practitioner of calligraphy. Ultimately, no one a master, at least not myself.
Okay. First question is, how do you beginning to study calligraphy art?
Yeah. So
please explain it.
Yeah,
in
so-
simple and easy way.
okay. So when I'm a young boy, 9 or 10 years old,
Okay.
I used to go with my mother downtown. I'm from Vancouver on the west coast of Canada, and it's on the Pacific Ocean side. And this area is a very large population of people from the Far East, from Japan and Korea and many cultures from the Far East.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went to the main downtown, we called, or the shopping area with my mother, it went through an area where many of these people from Asia, they had, a Japantown and these kinds of places. So I always thought that it looked so interesting. These were, compared to where I grew up, the shops had big lanterns and beautiful art and all sorts of artifacts and Buddha images and paintings and all these things. But my mother always said, no, we're going to such and such, big shop to buy whatever. So then, as I knew that bus would take me to that place. The bus came very close to my house and it would bring me there. So on the Saturday and Sunday afternoons when the other children would go out to play, I would slip away and take the bus and then get down in this area. And I started to wander around and explore and look in all these fascinating shops. They also had many traditional Asian medical shops, and they practice a form of, this ancient traditional medicine, and these shops were full of all sorts of strange herbs and ginsengs, and even, they actually, in that tradition of medicine, they also use insects and, tiger's paws and whatever. Those, anyways, for a little boy, it was very fascinating. And then there was a small art shop, and it had a sign in the window saying that the gentleman there was giving Chinese or Japanese painting lessons. And so I went to inquire about it, and it was very inexpensive. And from my little monthly allowance, I could afford to attend those classes. And the class, it turned out, was just one-on-one, the teacher and myself. And I would go twice a week for 2 hours, and he would show me how to use these traditional Japanese-style brushes. So calligraphy is very much connected with the use of the Asian-style brush. And this is a small collection of brushes I've brought for traveling, but some of these brushes are very large. But anyways, each brush has a different size and a different quality, and also different hairs. So each type of hair, this for example is a sheep's hair. So sheep's hair is very absorbent, but it's also, when it's wet, I'll put it in just, see, this is just plain water, but it comes to a fine point. So when you paint, you get a thin line. And so today, I'm just going to, and also the length of the hair determines. If it's a very short brush, then the stroke is very small and short. If it's a long brush, you can get very curving. I'll show you in the actual doing of it, the effects of different things. This is one of my favorite brushes, and this one is made from the whisker of rats. And a rat finds its way through the world using whiskers, even in the dark tunnels and the between cupboards and in the ground. They also can make their way. So the rat whisker is very sensitive, and also whereas, for example, the sheep's hair brush, it's very absorbent. Wool, it's really, sheep's hair is wool, or lamb and goat. So it absorbs moisture, whereas the rat's hair doesn't so much. So how they put the ink onto the paper or the cloth or whatever your surface you're painting on also depends on the type of hair it is, and also how resilient. For example, this brush, when you press down, it's very pliant. It bends easy. This one, it doesn't bend. It resists the thing. And also it spreads out a little bit. So then you get a different kind of stroke. And I'll illustrate to you how these different brushes. In calligraphy, the tradition is that there's 4 treasures. And first of all is the type of paper you use. So each paper, and normally one uses these, what is known as rice paper. It's not actually made from rice, it's made from mulberry or different types of grasses and things, but in Western languages it's become called rice paper because the people in the Far East eat rice. And so that's the main number 1 treasure. The second one is ink. And normally, in modern times, we buy the ink in a bottle or in a tube. But in the old tradition, the ink is made in a small brick like this. And this ink is made from taking some sap out of a tree. The very best one is the pine tree. But any type of, mostly evergreen tree, they have a type of sap that runs out of the bark. And what they do is in a chimney, a glass chimney that's round like that, and then it's very long, tall top piece. They burn that sap, and they collect the soot, the smoke that comes off that, and then together they mix it with a little bit of a lacquer, it's a type of glue, and they make it into a stick like this. And I don't have with me here because we're just traveling, but you have a flat stone with a little ridge around it, and then you grind this ink very lightly, very delicately on the stone, and then that means that ink is very fresh and it has great quality. The bottled ink, if you buy an old bottle of ink that's say 3 or 4 years old, because it's ground in with using water, fresh spring water if you have available, then it will deteriorate. It will even begin to smell after some time, because anything that is ground in water or cooked in water, over time, it's an organic thing, then it will be, over time, it will begin to deteriorate and create a smell. Whereas this ground solid ink, when you grind it, it's very fresh, and it actually has a very beautiful, elegant smell.
Second question is, what is art of calligraphy?
Yeah.
So you can
I explain
it very simple and easy way that we can understand as well.
Yeah. So the art of calligraphy is calligraphy. Actually, first of all, the word calligraphy in English language, calligraphy. It really means the art of writing. But in Japanese and Chinese and Korean, or the word for writing and drawing or painting is the same word. In Japanese, it's shodo, S-H-O-D-O. Do is the Tao, so it means the way, the road. So it's the process or the way of writing. But it also can be used in the tradition of painting. You might paint a picture of a bamboo or of a rock or a mountain or some water and coming against the shore, like here we're at Kavalam, we hear the waves coming against the shore, and when the water hits the shore they have a certain pattern. So it's a picture. And
Okay.
in the Japanese tradition of writing, that words are pictures. They originally come from pictures. So the art of calligraphy is really the art of creating a picture, but it's a language. So pictures can create a language, as well as pictures, images of an object of water is also a picture of water. And it's, of course, in the old days, in the very early time, this is maybe 3, 4, 5,000 years ago, when languages around the human community around the world were just beginning, then mostly they were in form of pictures. If we look at the ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, or in the mountains, you often find carved inside of rocks pictograms. Cave paintings are basically small pictures. And early language, particularly these Far Eastern languages using pictograms, they come from pictures. So example, I'll do the picture of a moon. So in the earliest time, it's just like that. It's like a crescent moon.
Cool.
And then in later times, of course, over time these become more stylized. So, you know, it's like so. Another example is water. So water is like it's made like this. So it's like the water running in a river or in a stream. So, you know, and if you look at water running down a creek or even running out of a tap, it has sort of a flow like that. So later, you know, as it becomes more formal, so that is also the character for water. And then much later, as these are like the basic, this is the early, what we call seal script, and this is the more traditional, it's like a formal script. And then, you know, there's a way to write water that is a very artistic way, and it can be like that. So writing, it's like someone who has very beautiful handwriting, or if you're writing a sutra or a poem, often you write it with very creative looking writing. So calligraphy basically is the art of writing. And also you'll see here, like I'll give you an example of these brushes, that these kinds of brushes, you know, just to make a line, you can so you can, it goes from very thick, these brushes, when you just touch it, you can make a very thin line, and if you press harder, it makes a thick line. If you press like that, you can, so they can be very expressive. In one stroke, you can go from dark to light, and also you can go from wide to very thin, all in one stroke. So these brushes are quite different than the Western style brush, and that they have great flexibility in terms of how they create a form. This is the form for shunyata, or from
Sunyata,
empty.
yeah. The question is, what is the secret of the calligraphy? So again,
yeah, so in that sense, that calligraphy, as it's been practiced for 3,000 or 4,000 years, and increasingly, particularly with the tradition of Buddhist traditions coming into the Far East through Bodhidharma and various other masters coming from India, that dhyana in Sanskrit, it means to meditate or to sit still. And it was translated when it really, Bodhidharma went from South India to Tang Dynasty China, and that taught basic meditation. Meditation is to focus the mind and be present and still, not following the thoughts or the sensations or the feelings, but just to watch the nature of how things arise in the mind. It's not the things that arise. It's like in the sky. The clouds are not the sky. The clouds appear in the sky and they come and go, but the sky itself is open, clear, and empty. And actually, if we observe our own mind, it's also always present, it's always aware, but it's not one thought or another thought, because those thoughts come and go. Even the thought of who we are, or when we're young children, or we have many thoughts, and when we're young teenagers, we have many thoughts, and then as you get older, you have thoughts about what you're going to do in your life, and all through your life, those processes of thoughts change, but none of them are solid, or none of them are really you. They're only the things that are passing through. It's like the clouds. Sometimes there's white clouds, sometimes there's black clouds, sometimes there's rain clouds, sometimes there's very wispy, faraway clouds, and sometimes there's no sky, or no clouds, but still, the sky remains the same. They're just the place where that happens. So, through calligraphy, it's also a way to observe your mind. So, in sacred calligraphy, generally the practice is to, first of all, you prepare your paper, you prepare your inks, you prepare everything, and then you observe the paper and you allow your mind to be present and aware in one place. And you don't have a preconceived idea of what it is you're going to paint, or why, or you're not say, oh, I'm going to paint a bamboo, or I'm going to paint a cricket, or I'm going to paint such and such word. You just have a clear, open, present mind. And then, when the mind is clear and open like that, then if something comes to your mind, say, for example, the reflection of the moon in water. You have an image in your mind. So if you can directly put that onto the paper or the surface, whatever it is you're painting on, right away without any further elaboration, saying it's a bright moon or a cloudy moon, or you just put it directly there. Then they say it's first thought is best thought. So thoughts themselves are not a problem. The problem is that we become attached. You have, an idea, this is a beautiful reflection of the moon and water, or this is a very unclear, and then we elaborate, or if we see something, you say, that's such a nice flower, or that's an ugly flower, or that's the wrong color, I wanted a white flower and that's a pink flower, or, likes and dislikes, aversion, attachment, and even neutral. Sometimes we just, that's a boring flower and we don't want to look at it. So these are all, subjective ideas, whereas sacred calligraphy is the art of just being very present. And also one will find that when you're actually doing the calligraphy, that if your mind is clear and present, and also you work with breath. So in meditation also, one of the real ways of stabilizing the mind is to observe your breath, because if you're breathing, you're alive, and if you stop breathing, it's finished. So we can go for some days without food, and we could even go for a half a day or a day without water, but without breathing 4 or 5 minutes, and even then it might be too long, it's finished. So breathing is very much essential. And also our minds, if you watch your mind carefully, if your mind is very calm and peaceful, your breath will also be calm and peaceful. If your mind is very agitated, if you get angry, you find your breath is, you breathe deep and you're rah rah rah. Or if you're very tired, your breath is very slow and you sort of half falling asleep. So breath is closely connected. And in calligraphy also, you breathe in, and then when you breathing out, your breath is the most stable. So I'm going to do now. So that's and this is backwards, but so this is the character for the moon, and this is the character for water. So the actual writing of the character, particularly this is what we call grass script, because it's like a piece of grass in the wind. It's actually all one stroke. The brush never left the paper while it's making each of these characters. And there is even a way that you could conjoin these into one stroke that it was, you could write both of the words in one single stroke. So sacred calligraphy is that. It's working with the breath. It's in an open, clear mind. And if your mind is wandering, or your mind has some other idea in the middle of writing it, then it will show in the movement of the character on the paper. So it's a way for yourself and for someone else who sees the painting. If your mind begins to wander, you can observe it, because on the brush painting you'll find that, first of all, this way of painting with these brushes is you hold the brush straight up and down, and then by pressing, the farther you press down, the thicker the stroke is, the farther up it comes back to a thin point. So you press down, and then you can come back and forth. So in a way, calligraphy can be used like watching your breath as a way to watch your mind, and a way to calm and focus your mind, and that you yourself will see in the practice of calligraphy when your mind has gone wandering, or when your mind is not present and aware. So it becomes a useful method. It's, in a way, meditation in action, meditation in the act of doing things.
How can the practice of calligraphy benefit our daily life?
So in the same way as that we use it as a meditation, also the act of being very present and doing something with the mind, the eye, the hand. It's like dance or some kind of yoga, or a type of martial art, or mind, eye, hand coordination requires us to be very focused. And so when we're focused, our mind becomes peaceful and calm. When the mind is wandering all over the place, and this impression and that impression comes, then we begin to feel agitated. Sometimes you have a happy thought, and you think, oh, if I only had such and such, or if I had this cake or this cookie or this whatever, if I went to such and such place, I would be happy. And also you can have an unhappy thought, and then you get it. Why did they say this to me? And I'm going to say. So having something like an art form that you have to be present and clear and focused, then this can benefit our daily life. And to practice calligraphy, it's like practicing to learn how to play a musical instrument. For example, the violin or piano or any musical instrument. If you do it daily, then for an hour or more, then you soon find that quickly you begin to improve, and also you feel comfortable. Or if you do yoga or some kind of sport, if you do it regularly, not only do you get better at the actual activity, but you also, your mind, your focus in your life becomes more clear and more focused. You feel comfortable, you feel good in yourself. And even in Japan, Japan is a very, very busy and very intense country in terms of people work long hours, and it's a very small set of islands, and it's heavily populated, so there's a lot of competition, and there's a lot of attention in daily life, because it's so engaged and so then many great like bank executives or government executives or military executives, they all have in their office, in some corner of their office, a calligraphy table. And just they're practicing not as a way to make a work of art, they're practicing as a way to focus and clear their mind. Because when you're practicing calligraphy, you can't think of other things. You have to be very clear. If your mind wanders, then you find there's a big puddle of ink on your paper. So in daily life, if we have something in our daily activity that helps us be very clear and present and focused, this is of great benefit. It also regulates your breathing, it lowers your blood pressure. When the mind is clear and focused, you also, it releases endomorphs and positive hormones that make you feel comfortable and relaxed and present. And when the mind and body are focused in one place, it's same with meditation. If you practice daily meditation, then over time it improves your health. It increases your sense of well-being, your confidence, your sense of being present and aware. It's of great benefit for yourself. And also it's something that the learning how to do it takes a long time, but the actual activity of doing it, you can make a small work of art in a matter of a few minutes, so it's a way of sharing your activities with others.
Very short introduction about calligraphy. Actually, we must need to, if you want to learn about calligraphy, it is just not a 1 hour or for 2 hours to learn it. It is just life-changing way that you can learn in your daily routine, daily lives. So this is just simple and short introduction. If you are interested, then you can also contact us, and also you can share who are interested in calligraphy. So thank you so much.